welcome to our second session of development studies. Here we'll be covering different topics relating to the subject. Today we'll be covering rural development, but just a quick recap of what we have covered so far. My colleague Ms. Stein have covered urbanization, and then she's preparing to cover for politics and development. For myself, I have covered previously politics and development, and then today I'm going to be covering rural development, which is theme number 5. Thank you. Alright, great. To kickstart it, theme number 5, which is rural development, will be our theme for today. Again, you are expected to know the specific objectives. I'm not going to get into details, but I always provide them to you when I give you the notes. So please go through the specific objectives that are going to be guiding you throughout the lessons as you study through. Now, our topic for today, rural development. So what is rural development? Rural development, first and foremost, refers to the process where you are improving the quality of life of the people that are living within the rural areas. So you need to improve the quality of life for these people in terms of economic well-being, in terms of social well-being, in terms of health and mental well-being. So that entails rural development. Good. Now we have 3 types of traditional societies. Now, it was of great concern when I was previously making the task that I handed to you out on this topic. It was concerning you, majority of the learners were not able to answer the 3 types of traditional societies. Now, please take note. We have 3. Number 1, hunter-gatherers. That's the first one. The hunter-gatherers usually obtained their food from the wild plants as well as the wild animals by hunting for the males, and then the females would always gather the roots and the seeds, for instance. Now, so hunter and gatherers were always on the move. They were never at a constant place because they would move in search of the food. Their movement were always determined by the availability of food. The second one is the agriculturalist. The agriculturalist refers to the types of traditional societies where these people learned to grow plants where they used to gather in the wild. So they grew plants that they gathered in the wild, and then in turn they were able to produce certain crops. So through this method of doing that, they adopted now, the modern ways of agriculture. That is now, for instance, the production of mahangu. Good. Farms and crops were used to sustain families, and then whatever surplus that was produced, it would then be sold for profit. So there were few domesticated animals, such as chickens, pigs, and goats, for instance. Now, this is for the agriculturalist. The third and last is the nomadic pastoralist. The nomadic, so this one is divided into 2. First, the nomads, and then the pastoralists. To begin off, the nomads, these are the ones, the word nomads refers to these people that moved from one place to another in search of food, water, and an area for grazing. These people, they usually move according to season. So when the season is suitable for them to, for instance, to cultivate, and then they would move within that specific area to be able to do their task. Now, the pastoralists were the ones that were responsible for livestock farming. So these ones were the ones that were responsible for herding, and then they attended to the animals. They were also responsible for the domestication of animals. So it is through the pastoralists that then this traditional lifestyle has been adopted to today's lifestyle. Good. They relied on animals for meat, for milk, and then for other milk products. Now let's take a close look at the 3. We need to look at the 3 types of traditional societies in terms of the division of labor, the types of tool which was used during the time, the seasonal agriculture, the social and cultural activities that were involved in these 3 types of traditional societies. Now, number 1, the nomads and the hunter-gatherers. The types of land use and ownership is that these people did not really own land, as they were always on the move. They would always move from one place. They would always migrate from one place to another in search of food, water, and suitable agricultural land, for instance. So they never had any ownership of land. This applies for both the nomads, the hunter-gatherers, the pastoralists, and the agriculturalists. The division of labor for both the nomads and the hunter-gatherers, they lived in small groups, which is usually extended families, where they shared the labor or the tasks which they had to do. Men were specifically just considered as hunters, where women and children were considered as gatherers. Everybody had to be involved in activities that enabled them to access food. That is the division of labor for both nomads and hunter-gatherers. The pastoralists, these were both the men were the herders of animals, meaning they looked after the animals. The women, they gathered food and made clothes and shelters from treated animal skins. Whereas, last but not least, for the agriculturalists, men had to clear the fields for crops and build permanent settlements, while the women cultivated the land, and then they processed the grains, and then they looked after the children. So you should be able to look at it from that aspect. In terms of also the types of tools that were used, for the nomads and hunter-gatherers, as you are all aware, they used simple tools, like the tools that were made from stones, for instance, from bones, and from wood. For the pastoralists, they used also simple tools that were made from stones, bones, wood, and animal hides. For the agriculturalists, they used simple tools for cultivating the land and to make baskets which were necessary to carry the production that they acquired from agriculture. Seasonal agriculture, you should also be able to explain that one very straight and forward, as well as the social and cultural activities that were involved. Dependence on the local environment, so you need to know that for the nomads and hunter-gatherers, automatically they depended on the natural environment, whereas the pastoralists depended on the environment for pasture and water for their animals, and they also depended in terms of the wild fruits that had been provided by the land. Good. So that brings us to the end of today's lesson. So please do go through, do revise, do watch the videos, and where not clear, do not hesitate to directly communicate with your specific teacher.